The art of the great compassion is not written in any books. Books will stab the eyes. It will add more opinions and meanings. The Arahants, the enlightened ones, will not write any books, and they will not proclaim from any books, and they will not proclaim any Buddha's words either. The Arahants will not proclaim from Tripitaka. They will be just saying something that purifies itself, dissolves itself according to the reality. And the words of the Buddhas will not be proclaimed, only hearing directly from the Buddhas only. This is not in the way to say anything vaguely. Listen carefully. The words of the Arahants will clear out the cause of the suffering accordingly. They will not proclaim any Buddha's words. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. They will not say anything according to Tripitaka or any textbooks, but any sayings, any words will just clear out the cause of the suffering of each group of beings right in front. Therefore, they will not always proclaiming Buddha's words by not hearing directly from the Buddhas or not seeing the Buddhas directly. There is no such thing that is unclear or vaguely. Therefore, it's not going to be speculation and not having any task to give the speculation to anyone either. The Arahants have no task or status to offer any vagueness to anybody. The word saying is bygone. The cause of the suffering right in front, the fixation or the attachment right in front, it will be cleared out. Accordingly, there will not be much to say. Therefore, the real Arahants don't proclaim anyone's words. There is no system of vagueness, speculation. They will not proclaim from Tripitaka or any textbooks. They will reflect according to the reality of the cause of the suffering right in front of them, according to the situation right in front of them. They will not burden any scriptures, Buddha's words, or Tripitaka, nothing like that. They will just see whatever that is right in front, whoever that has the cause of the suffering, any stuckness, any fixation, it will be cleared out right in front. If not hearing directly from the Buddhas, why proclaiming Buddha's words? Why proclaiming Buddha's words? You can respect the Buddhas, but don't proclaim Buddha's words like this, like that. Did you hear directly? If not, then you are just speculating and randomizing, and the people will just move on in the way with speculation and randomizing. So if you don't hear directly from Buddha's words, you just speculate and offering speculation to other people, turning into crystallization of the delusive attachment. Use respect. Even you don't know the Buddhas, even they are invisible to you. You can think of the Buddhas, but don't proclaim the Buddha's words like they're teaching like this, like that. Do you hear directly from the Buddhas? Do you hear directly by your ears from the Buddhas. If you don't, you are speculating and proclaiming and deceiving others. That's why it's troubling. That's why it leads towards self-torturing. This is so exhausting. All these kind of damn fixation and liberation, these are the acts of suffering, self-torturing. Always claiming and claiming and claiming from Buddha's words. The claims have been made extremely. Being afraid that they don't believe in you. Actually, your claim is in order to make the people believe in you or in Buddhas. Actually, is to make the people believe in you. You are afraid that the people will not believe in you. Sneaking claims. If you don't hear directly by your ears from the Buddha, don't claim anything because it's gonna be distorted endlessly. It will turn into the act of the suffering. Buddhas don't offer the acts of the suffering or self-torturing to samsara, actually giving ending to it. This is what you have to hear. Being afraid that they will not believing in you, claiming only the words of the Buddhas, the words of Jesus, the words of Allah. And you don't realize it, that you are deceiving others to believe in you. And you don't realize that you are deceiving others to believe in you, believing in your own opinions and faith. And this is unrealized either. Deceiving others to believe in yourself, claiming only about the Buddhas, Jesus, Allah, God, this one, that one. This is unrealized, that making believe to others to believe in oneself. If you don't hear directly from the Buddhas, it's called speculation, randomizing. If it's according to the books, referring to the books, it's just randomizing. No Buddhas, no gods who write any books. You just misleading, delusively writing and elaborating by yourself, and then claiming that it's from the Buddhas, it's from Allah, it's from God, to make others believe in you. All these days, you don't say anything in order for the people to believe in God or in the Buddhas. Instead, you are making others believing in you by your words. Listen carefully. Those who like to claim, to make a claim. If you don't hear directly, don't say that the Buddha say like this, like that, because that is in the moment of speculation. Don't say it, so that it will not damage the Buddhas or those graces. You have to define like this. It's impossible to impose anything for anyone. Don't seek anything to impose anyone. Don't impose anything on anyone. If you cannot use words to cut through deluded knowing for others, use just the mighty force of natural extinction. Otherwise, you just unrealize that you are imposing opinions and meanings which are the self-torturing, which is imposing on others. Suffering will just be offered to each other according to each path, each doctrine and dogmas. Use just the mighty force of natural extinction only. Don't rush to impose anything on anyone because they are already full. Don't change location of the desire to anyone because they already have the desire. No need to do that. No need to add more desire for anyone. Opinions and meanings or tithi is the cause of the suffering. Therefore, it has to be tithi that dissolves itself. Terminologies are also the cause of the suffering. Therefore, it has to be terminologies that dissolve themselves. Letting go of the letting go itself. This will be terminology that dissolve itself. Otherwise, it's going to be the cause of the suffering. Don't let go of anything. The letting go of anything is actually the cause of the suffering. It is self-torturing, endless self-torturing. Let go of the letting go itself. It's not about letting go or not letting go. It's not nothing to do with letting go or not letting go. Let it be terminology that dissolve itself, tithi that dissolve itself, opinions and meanings that dissolve itself. If terminologies dissolve themselves, there will not be Nibbana side or Samsara side. Neither will be there. Nibbana is there because of the assumed up. True Nibbana doesn't even exist. Not having doesn't even exist. When it's taken as real, it's because of the language terminology that is assumed up. This is happening with the cause of the suffering. The path of Nibbana, the path to the enlightenment. This is created newly. But when terminologies dissolve themselves, there will not be a new kind of path to the enlightenment. Not hearing directly by one's ears while claiming. The same as making the sculpture of Buddha images. They look like the one who make the sculptures, look like the one who designs Buddha images. It's like that. If you see the Buddhas, you can assume up accordingly. But form is not form. Formlessness is not formlessness. But if form is form, then is the suffering of opinions and meanings. That which is not about yes or no. It's not about is or isn't. Don't be obsessed to yes or no with anything, because this is the self-torturing, the cause of the suffering of opinions and meanings. Delusively thinking that is not is already the act of the suffering, the cause of the suffering. No, it's not even know itself. This is dissolving itself. Don't just continue in the way that this isn't, is not. That is going to be just the cause of the suffering. We have to use terminologies that dissolve themselves so that it will not become the cause of the suffering, the samudaya. The form of practices is derived from the cause of the suffering of opinions and meanings. They don't purify themselves, they don't dissolve themselves. That's why it comes in the form of practices. it is another gross samudaya. The word isn't is also the cause of the suffering of opinions and meanings. To say that this isn't, that isn't, it is gonna be endlessly gross samudaya. Isn't itself is the cause of the suffering, but when delusively isn't to this, isn't to that, it become gross samudaya endlessly in such a idea of isn't. So let's dissolve it. It's not related to yes or no, is or isn't. If there is not relating, then it's not relating to either relating or not relating. The great compassion, the art of the great compassion, is not written in any books. All the teaching is a speculation, totally. There is no refuge is correct already. Taking a refuge, a fixation, is not correct. Nothing is to be taken into a refuge. All this kind of fixation to a refuge is a suffering. It's not correct. No refuge is already correct. Searching for a refuge is not correct. Searching itself is the act of the suffering. That's why we have to use terminologies that dissolve themselves. Listening, dissolving, listening. This is not a subject, this is not a proposition, otherwise it's imposing. Terminologies that dissolve themselves is not considered as anything. Cut through deluded knowing accordingly only. It's not about anything. It's not considered as anything. Terminology that dissolve themselves, those considered as anything, because that will not dissolve itself. There is no purification in terminologies in such a way. If any terminologies don't purify themselves, they will branch out into the acts of suffering endlessly, turning into methods and ways to practice. First of all, terminologies are the cause of the suffering in themselves without self-dissolving. For example, isn't is stuck in itself, is the act of the suffering in itself. Isn't is not isn't itself. That is, isn't that doesn't grasp for itself. That is purification. This will not become acts of suffering. It will not become a practice. Isn't is not isn't itself. There is no chance for the isn't to be further isn't to anything. Because isn't is not isn't itself. There will not be any delusion to isn't, to this and that. It will not become the gross act of suffering. It's not become a practice. Ending is right there.